Sister Stockland's daughter, and today we are visiting Manda and Ian McCorkindale out at Batlow today. Ian and Manda own Cascades Nursery and also the Gilmore Braes Heritage Beef. And as a beef supplier, Manda and Ian travel up to the Canberra regional farmers markets primarily, but also some other local markets around the different areas here. So enough about me. Let's actually introduce these guys to you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, how did you guys actually come about beef farming, can I ask?
We bought here in Batlow back in 2004. It was it's a small farm, 300 acres, and it had the infrastructure of a nursery and the beginnings of a nursery on site at the time. Our main interest was trees, so we developed that. Unbeknown to us, 2004 was in the middle of a very long, prolonged drought period, so generating income from the farm was a challenge, to say the least. We had to see how the farm worked. So we expanded the nursery operation into a deciduous tree, high country, cold climate tree business, and that kept us going very well. We started going to the farmers market immediately we moved in here. That was in 2004. The Capital Region Farmers Market then consisted of about 25 stallholders. It's now got 140 regulars, and I think something like 170 on the books.
It's grown quite significantly.
It has. It's been an interesting ride watching it grow. But it's been a great source for us of customers. Batlow's a small town in the Snowy Mountains, and then we realised, well, we've got 300 acres here we have to do something with. It's not big enough to run as a conventional farm, as a conventional grazing property. And we're both interested in unusual things and unusual breeds of animals and doing things differently. So we did a lot of research and decided to run with a couple of heritage breeds, hence our name. In fact, the name Gilmore Braes Heritage Beef, the Gilmore Creek is our back boundary.
Yeah.
Braes is an old Scottish term referring to the steep country around the headwaters of a creek or burn.
Oh, okay.
And hence the name Gilmore Braes. It lends itself in the heritage beef, and it's a natural blend of, and then the Highland beef comes into it as a natural progression. Manda's a real information freak, so she did a lot of the research into the meat.
The meat quality produced by different breeds of beef, and the Scottish Highland beef is just extraordinary. On paper, and as it turns out, thank goodness, in the eating.
And what breeds do you have here on the farm to be able to sell into beef?
Well, 95% is Scottish Highland. We have a Welsh Black Bull, Mr. Lewis, and 2 Welsh Black cows. So Lewis goes over half of our Highland cows, so half of our meat animals are actually hybrid between the Welsh Black and the Scottish Highlands.
And what is your particular background? You mentioned before that you come from New Zealand and you've been working the land for quite some time. So it's been in your heritage and your experiences to come to where you are today.
Yeah, I was born on a farm in the south end of New Zealand, south end of the South Island of New Zealand. So this country's very familiar to me. And again, it was a small farm, and from a young age, my father had to just change direction a couple of times, so he wasn't afraid of doing different things. And he also was the inspiration for interest into the nursery as well. We didn't have a nursery on the farm, but he was always coming home from a nursery somewhere with something weird and different to put around the garden somewhere. So that seed was sown from a very early age.
Yeah.
So yeah, farming, I've been on farms both in New Zealand and here in Australia, quite large properties out in the Western District of New South Wales.
Yeah.
And this was our first foray into our own ownership of a property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the trees we cut around a bit more widely. I mean, Cooma once a month and Murrumbateman, but it mainly sold. Our customer base basically starts at Yass and goes across through Murrumbateman, Canberra, down through Royalla, Bredbo, Cooma, down Jindabyne, Dalgety, places like that. Yeah. Big customer base in the Snowy Mountains now.
So you're really supporting the local community as well. Could you tell me a little bit more about Meet the Beef Days?
Well, we called it Meet the Beef because our beef customers in Canberra often ask how we farm, what the cattle behave like when we're out in the paddock, and, you know, are we organic, do we use chemicals? So I thought, well, why don't we actually have them come out to the farm and enjoy our cattle as we do. And it's been terribly successful. People have a wonderful, wonderful day out. Amazingly, we can trust the cattle to behave properly, and they have every time we've had a group here.
And that's part of the breed of the Scottish Highland breed and the Welsh Black breed, isn't it?
Yes, yes. No, they're just wonderful. We have some photos here of some of our days. We start the day with morning tea of beef, and then we take our people down to the cattle yards that we actually ask them to help us herd the weaners into the yards. And then we have a Q&A session, and we don't hide from any questions that people might ask, because we're proud of how we farm our cattle. Ian usually answers all the questions.
Try to, anyway.
Pretty much.
No, it's an opportunity for people to, as Amanda just said, for people to ask us basically any question they want to know about the operation of the farm and how we run the beef. In some ways it makes us think about what we're doing as well, makes it justify, it helps us to justify steps that we take, management decisions that we might make.
Yeah.
And the more open, and we know the more open and honest you can be with people, and the happier they, and the more understanding you can give them of the food chain, of the process of production of beef. It just helps with the understanding all the way through. The beef doesn't grow in a refrigerator in the supermarket. It does come off a paddock. And in order to be able to show people that, then putting on a day like this is a great opportunity for people to come out to see what we do.
Yeah.
We do a couple of different cuts. The morning tea cut is more just an hors d'oeuvre type, just a very small sample of an unusual cut that we do.
Yeah.
And then, we spend an hour or so, or however long it takes down at the yards. Again, the Q&A thing can last half an hour, it can last 2 hours. It doesn't really bother us at all. There's no set time schedule.
Yeah.
And while we're in the yards, I'll actually pick an animal and point out where the different beef cuts come from on the animal.
Fantastic.
And they're quiet enough that they'll stand there while I do it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
how long
nice.
have you been running these tours for?
Probably 4 years, but just a couple of times a year. But now we've stepped it up to once a month.
Okay, so it happens once a month?
Yeah, on the first Sunday of each month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we, after we've been in the yards, we then go out the back and meet mums and dad. I'll pick a big bale up with the tractor and we'll go and feed them a bale of hay.
I see this photo here of that one.
Yep, that's exactly.
That's our bull, Mr. Darcy.
Oh, so that's Mr. Darcy.
Yep. And as you can see, you can get up very close to the cattle once they've got some hay to come up to. You can get up really close. You can hand feed quite a few of the cows. They'll take feed from you. They've never been led. They've never been shown. They're not show animals at all. But they're just it's just the nature of the beast.
And also the method of farming and raising the cattle would have a lot to do with them being so quiet and being able to handle people coming up and touching them. Now, how does, if the general public were interested in coming along to meet the beef days, how do they actually come about? You operate at the Canberra Regional Farmers Market?
We have brochures at the markets. We also have a website, and you can book in by phone, by email, through the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we hope to see some of you people at Meet the Beef Days.